Savior is born tomorrow. But exactly what does it mean? Let me speak to a research fellow, language, literature, and drama section at the Institute of African Studies, University of Ghana. He just joined me by Skype. Dr. Obadele Kambon is with me on Skype. Good evening, sir. Grateful for your time.
Yes, good evening. Can you
Yes,
hear
good
me?
evening. Hmm. Now, let's start our conversation from here. What is the significance of Christmas from the religious point of view?
Okay, first we have to go
Okay,
into
first,
the origin of the celebration at all. So even when we're talking about the idea of a divine savior who was born, died, resurrected, that all of that is actually plagiarized from the story of Asar, Oset, and Heru, which is the first story of a holy trinity conception, resurrection. You can actually go to the temple of Luxor. They refer to it also as Karnak in Egypt right now, and you'll see the entire, birth sequence from the Annunciation, the Immaculate Conception, the Virgin Birth, the Adoration. All of that is carved into stone, and this exists 1,380 BCE, which is, approximately 1,300 plus years before the birth of so-called Christ. So what this means is that this entire story is actually plagiarized from ancient African stories about the Savior, about resurrection, and things of this nature. So if you go into the story of Heru, you'll find in the pyramid text, and we're talking about around 4,500 plus years ago, you have all of these stories about Horus having a virgin mother who conceived him, brought forth singly as one among five brothers. So all of these things. Now, when you come to December 25th, this is actually a Roman holiday called Saturnalia, and it was considered to be a pagan holiday. All these things of gift giving, and so forth and so on, that all of them are part of this Roman holiday of Saturnalia. And it's all tied into the winter solstice, which is when the sun comes to the lowest point and the days are shortest. And what people did was that they celebrated what um, they call it Dies Natalis Solis Invicti, which is the birthday of the sun. So all of these things, you find basically Christian traditions. Constantine in AD 312 ended the persecution of Christians and then started to take all of these so-called pagan religions and adopt them into Christianity. And again, you can look at different texts. Gerald Massey, Ancient Egypt, Light of the World, Volume 2. He cites over 200 similarities between the lives of Asar and Heru and the life of Jesus Christ, who was born 3,300 years later. But again, all of these stories, they find their origin in ancient African texts, but many of us don't know about them.
I see. So you're saying that the stories are plagiarized and that
Exactly.
December 25th
Mhm.
isn't the birthday of Jesus Christ.
If Jesus Christ ever existed, he stole his entire life story from the life story of Horus, what in ancient times was called Heru. And again, you can find over 200 similarities between their life stories. And again, this December 25th is just celebrating completely solar phenomena. So on the 21st, for those who are familiar with astronomy itself, you're talking about the winter solstice, and this is where the sun appears to be the lowest point in the sky. Now, what people did in ancient times, if you go to that same temple where you have this carving thousands of years before there was anything even thought of like a Christ, you can find this whole story. And what they did is that they aligned the temple such that on that date of December 21st, when the sun rises, it shines directly into what they call the Holy of Holies. I actually got a chance to go in there physically myself. It shines into the Holy of Holies where the statuette of Amen was. Now, at the end of your prayers, people say Amen and they say, oh, that's so be it. No, that was the name of a deity that was also associated with this solstice. So when you say Amen, Amen Ra, Tutankhamen, people talk about King Tut, that's short for Tutankhamen, Amenhotep, that you had all these rules who had Amen in the name. Also, you have people who talk about Yah and Yahweh. That was the name of a lunar deity in ancient Kemet as well. And what we find is that a lot of people who claim to be Christians, they really don't know that just about every single thing that they do is very much rooted in Greek and Roman pagan traditions. For example, the 7-day week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This is actually talking about Sunday is a day of the sun, Monday, day of the moon. Tuesday is Tuesday, talking about Tiu, the English Germanic god of war. Wednesday is talking about Woden, who's the root of his name means violently insane, identified with Mercury and Hermes. Thursday is talking about Thor's day, talking about the Norse god of thunder, Thor. Friday, Freya's day. Saturday, Saturn's day, and that's actually what Saturnalia, December 25th, was commemorating, and that was coming also from the earlier Greek tradition, which was Chronia, which was celebrating Chronos. So even when you look at the months of the year, when you talk about January, February, March, April, May, that all of these are names of Roman deities. But again,
I think,
because go ahead. I think you have a question.
so if this is the situation,
Yeah.
then it means that Christianity has come to accept the birthday of Jesus Christ. They've come to accept Christmas. What will it take to change this? Can it be changed at all?
Well, one thing that we see from history is that there's been a lot of changing and there's been a lot of merging of traditions. So, what Christianity did was basically take pagan holidays and said, okay, let's accept these pagan holidays like Saturnalia. This is where it was similar to actually the Apor festival, where you had people who were enslaved who became the masters. They could say whatever they wanted to, and it was coming from the earlier Greek tradition of Chronia, as I mentioned before. So what you have is people just taking all of these pagan holidays, and then and this even got to the point where they banned Christmas. So Puritans in England, all of these churches have actually banned Christmas at multiple times because they realized that the Christmas tree is coming from pagan traditions. That Yuletide, all of these things are coming from strictly pagan traditions. However, they started to incorporate them into Christmas. So if you ask, well, what does this tree have to do with anything with the birth of anyone? Again, this whole birth story is talking about when the sun goes to its lowest point and then comes to the highest point, and where the days become longer than the nights. That's where you celebrate Easter. So you're talking about the spring equinox. So all of these things that we're talking about are entirely solar. And in ancient times, in ancient Kemet, that means land of the black people. That's what we now refer to as ancient Egypt. That at that time, they didn't even say that it was supposed to be a real person. They said that this is all about solar things.
Time would allow us for Dr. Ubadili Kambon is a research fellow literature at the drama section at the Institute of African Studies, University of Ghana. They're talking about Christmas, the significance of the day. In other stories, now, the Vice President has called on ministers and other officers in